I was lucky to get into that school. That's what everybody there keeps reminding me. You really should be more grateful that you're a student here. Someone like you being accepted here is rarer than seeing a snow leopard in the desert, so you should put in more of an effort. It's not like I was being ungrateful. I just wish they would stop looking down on me for being poor. It wasn't like I chose to be. They took every opportunity to rub it in my face that they were rich and I was not. The only real friend I had there was Dante. He was the son of a shipping magnate, and even though he and I were worlds apart, he still treated me like I was his own brother. Until one day, that is, when I met Alita. Hi, I'm Andy, and this is the story of how I met a real-life princess. I was in a rush that morning, already late for first period, so I was running through the school gates when suddenly a blur came out of nowhere and I collided with it. We both fell onto the ground and she was covered in her smoothie. How dare you? How can you not see where you're going? And who gave you permission to run around here? I'm calling security. What are you talking about? I go here. Alita demanded that I pay for her dress, but when I told her I couldn't afford to, she began screaming at me and telling me how poor people weren't welcome in that school, and that she would do whatever it took to have me expelled. Talk about a first impression. The teacher introduced her that morning as the new transfer student, said she'd come from a different country and that she was a princess. Made sense that she had an attitude. What's worse is that Dante started crushing on her, and to impress her, he totally threw away our friendship. He laughed at me when he found out that I owed 20 grand for the princess's dress. Oh, no chance you're gonna see that money, Your Royal Highness. Andy's poorer than a gutter rat. Gutter rat? That's hilarious. I like you. Dante bought the princess the exact same dress the next day, and just like that, he got a date with a princess. I may be poor, but I have pride too, and I couldn't just let Dante prove that he was right. So even though Alita stopped bothering me about the dress I ruined, I still wanted to pay her back for it out of spite. I worked at every job I could find that would hire me. I waited tables, worked at the car wash, took a job as a caddy at the golf club, and I even spent nights working as a bartender at a high-end club. I barely got any sleep. Even when my grades were failing, I still worked until I couldn't walk anymore. I found a high-paying job as a servant in a huge manor, and I was super excited when I learned how much the salary was. I could pay back the princess in a matter of weeks. Until I was introduced to the person I was gonna be serving. What are you doing here? Guards, arrest this trespasser! Pardon me, Your Royal Highness. He is your new personal bodyguard and servant. What? Unacceptable. Have him dragged out of my sight right this instant. King's orders, Princess. I'm afraid he has chosen him out of 100 applicants. Alita had no choice but to tolerate me being around her, and I had to bite the bullet and serve the one person in the world I couldn't stand to be around. Every time she told me to fetch her a peach or bathe her pet monkey, I would have no other thoughts but pounds, pounds, pounds. The money she was paying me with was gonna be worth it, I told myself, and in time, I would finally be done with her. The princess sure took advantage of her power. She treated me worse than a cockroach, and the sentiment extended to her friends, too. Every time they were hanging out, they made me serve them hand and foot. They made me crouch on all fours and treated me like a footstool. Dante even used me as a hunting dog one time when they all went out to hunt for ducks. I was their little plaything. Just because I had no money, they treated me like an object. On the princess's birthday, Dante gave her a gift, and when she opened it, everyone was confused. It was a French maid's outfit. No, it's not for you, Your Highness. It's for your servant. He winked at me, and I just knew life was gonna be even more embarrassing from that moment on. Alita made me wear the uniform everywhere we went. The mall, the cafe, the gym, and even at school. That winter, Alita took the whole class to a lake house her family owned. Her entire family was there, and our classmates were so starstruck about meeting the royal family. That afternoon, while they were all lounging about the lake, Alita's cousin, Mara, slipped and fell off the jetty. She started screaming, and my classmates just watched. None of them wanted to dive into the freezing lake. Alita begged Dante to save her cousin. The guards were alerted, but they were at the gates. It'd be too late if we waited for them. I ran to the jetty and jumped in. I went numb immediately, but I didn't mind what my body was feeling. I couldn't feel my toes, but I know that I was paddling back to shore. Mara was taken to a room and the doctor was called, and I blacked out right after that. When I woke up, it was morning, and Alita was at the foot of my bed. She was holding my hand. I kept my eyes closed, not wanting things to be awkward, but she suddenly started whispering things to me. I'm so confused. What am I even feeling? I can't be falling for this guy, but the way he saved Mara, I can't keep my heart still. Speaking of Mara, I was so glad that she came into the room immediately after that. She saw my eyes flicker and she immediately ran to me and showered me with kisses. Oh, thank you. You're my hero. Thank you for saving me. Oh, you're awake. I saw jealousy cross Alita's face when Mara started fawning over me. And suddenly, the two members of royalty began a rivalry for my attention. Mara asked me out on a date that same day. But Alita, being the princess, she always got what she wanted. She told the king she wanted to date me, and Mara's parents told her to step aside for the princess's happiness. But when Alita came and asked me to be her boyfriend, she got a response that she wasn't expecting at all. Nope. Are you seriously rejecting a literal princess right now? Yup. Bye. Oh, and we're even now. I won't be buying you that dress. I walked out of there finally smug that I was done with Alita. But before I could reach the gates, the guards captured me and tied me up. Alita had me thrown in a tower. What did I expect, I guess? A princess gets what a princess wants. She visited me every day, bringing me food and different gifts. She had the tower fitted with a 100-inch TV and the latest Polystation 5 loaded with all the games any guy could ever want. She even had a fridge filled with D-Fuel installed, and she sent me gorgeous maids to take care of my every need. And on top of that, she gave my parents a huge house as a thanks for me saving Mara's life. Mara did try to defy her parents once. She tried to rescue me, but then the guards caught her and she was sent away. Every day, Alita came to visit, and every day I rejected her. I guess the stress and the worry took over her, because one day as she was trying to get me to eat her freshly baked Black Forest cake, she collapsed. I panicked. I didn't want it to go that far. I had no intention of hurting her. I carried her to my bed and called for help. But that day, the royal family had dismissed their servants for the holidays, and nobody could hear me from the top of that tower. I had no choice but to take care of Alita. Now, it was my turn to nurse her back to health. Alita mumbled in her sleep. She talked about how she didn't mean to be mean to me. She talked about being jealous of Mara because she was the one I saved. And when Alita woke up in the morning, it was like she was an entirely different person. She was gentle and kind, not at all like the images she always projected. Who knew the Terror Princess had another side to her? I made her soup and spoon-fed her. That day, we actually talked, as if she wasn't a princess and I wasn't her servant. And I fell in love with her. She fell asleep just after lunch, and I noticed how kind and peaceful she looked. And then the door to the tower burst open.
Get off my princess! What are you even doing here? And why aren't you wearing your uniform?
I don't work for her anymore.
Nonsense! Put it on right now, you scum!
The commotion woke Alita up, and before I could explain to Dante that I wasn't a servant anymore, the princess did it for me. How dare you wake me up from my sleep? Alita was fierce and back to her fighting form again. I breathed a sigh of relief. And you dare disrespect the future prince in front of me? What?
Future prince?
That's right, you doofus. You better ask for forgiveness and grovel on your knees, because the man you have been tormenting is my future husband. From this day forward, we are engaged, and the way you speak to him is treason. Dante cowered in fear. I didn't bother rejecting Alita that time. After all, my heart had changed. I wanted to be with her.
No, no, please, Andy, don't let her throw me in the dungeons. Remember the old days.
I laughed in his face. I never thought I'd enjoy seeing him grovel and tremble. Yeah, the old days, totally. Like when you made me wear that maid's outfit and paraded me around town for everyone to see. Mara, Alita, and I drove around in a convertible that afternoon, and standing up for everyone to see was Dante, in full French-made regalia, a tray of tea on one hand and a feather duster on the other, yelling out as loud as he could,
"Master, it's time for dinner!"
Alita and I got married in the ceremony of a century, and that day I was so happy to see Alita and Mara being friends again. I kissed the love of my life, and it was so satisfying to see every single one of the people who treated me poorly now get to watch me become a prince.